Hi, everyone. Before we get into the episode, we're starting things a little bit differently. First of all, we want to thank you so much. We saw the insight for the number of listens this last week, and the numbers were very humbling. So thank you so much for listening. Special shout out to Patrick Campmeyer, who is, you can see, is the #1 fan. You can always email us at talkingtwinpeaks@gmail.com. We will take a look at your comments, questions, concerns, insights that you want to give us as well. We very, very happy to hear from you. Joe, do you have anything else to say to the amazing fans that we have?
Yeah, please send all your YouTube covers of just you and I to Paul. He loves that song so much. Yeah, thank you guys. It's awesome knowing you guys are all out there listening. It's really fun for us to do, and we're glad that you guys are listening to us ramble about a show we love. So.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. If someone does, if I start getting an influx of you and I covers, I will put them on our YouTube channel. We will put them on the Showdown, and we will actually play them on our podcast. That is something I will totally do. So, all right. Well, yes, from both Joe and I, thank you again, and we hope you enjoy this episode, part 12.
Hi, and welcome back to a podcast above a convenience store, Talking Twin Peaks. I am the FBI. With me, as always, is Paul Muad'Dib. How you doing, Paul?
I am the FBI.
We are Talking Twin Peaks. We are on The Return, Part 16, which I would basically it's called No Knock, No Doorbell. I call it the money shot.
This is the money shot episode. We're gonna have a lot to talk about.
This is since we finally get Cooper back. We've just been waiting 25 years plus 14 episodes, but we got there.
Yes. I am watching this one. I watched this episode 3 times, maybe 4, for sure 3. I was I'm super stoked to talk about this one. I have a lot to talk about this one because there's a lot of things that went on, and there's kind of, I think this is like we're loose ends and we can really discuss some things. So let's get into it. So it starts with what, Joe?
Oh, I was just gonna say, I want an aside. I remember when I first watched this episode, and you hadn't gotten to it yet. I think like you were gonna have to wait till the next day. Mm-hmm. So I was just like, "What'd you think of this episode?" And you're like, "Oh, I didn't get to it yet." And I was just like, "Fuck!" I didn't get anything to talk.
Yeah, it's because I think there was I think I got stuck on the phone with a client that night, and it was super late, so I wasn't able to watch it that night. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I believe that's what was happening. I was dealing with a work thing, so I couldn't get to it that night.
All right. Now let's get into some night driving with Mr. C and Richard.
Yes. So they're driving in the night. And they make their way to these coordinates, and they have an interesting conversation where he's like, hey, I got 3 different coordinates from 3 different people. 2 of them match. What would you do? And Richard's like, I would go to the one.
The 2 that match.
The 2 that match. And he's like, smart kid. And he's like, hey, go up there. By the way, I'm 25 years your senior, so you do the walk.
Yeah, nothing suspicious about that.
Nothing suspicious. Nothing.
And we got to say, the coordinates lead to, like, basically you're in the middle of, it looks like out west. And it's just a giant rock on a hill. As this is going on, we see Jerry Horne. Fuck.
The Jerry Horne expedition, the whole side thing of Jerry Horne has a payoff, and this is it.
Where he's witnessing all this through the wrong end of a binoculars.
Oh God. And he's freaked out by the binoculars because they're not working right. So he sends him up there and he gives him this thing and he says, hey, it's gonna beep. And you're gonna go into it. And once it gets a continuous beep, you found the spot. Now, my question to you is, if you're a Richard, even though you're a fucked up little drug addict and a rape baby, not to be insensitive, even you would be kind of like, this doesn't seem right that I got to go up on a rock and find these coordinates, right?
Oh God, no! But you got to remember the last episode, Mr. C beat the shit out of him, so it's not like he's going to be questioning this guy. You know what I mean? Like, he could try running, but I have a feeling Mr. C would just probably shoot him in the fucking knee or something.
Right. I guess. But I don't know. I'm just kind of. I mean, why wouldn't you question it? Like, what are we looking for? What's on the rock? But Richard doesn't, and he goes up to the spot and gets fried.
He gets
zapped. And Jerry Horne's watching it through his Ron binoculars, and even through all his Ron binoculars, he sees it. So again, they are way outside. If I understand the coordinates, they are way outside of Twin Peaks.
I think they're in Idaho.
I think they're in Idaho. So you're telling me that Jerry Horne walked from Twin Peaks?
From Washington to Idaho. This is what there's some speculation as to maybe Jerry had found one of these portals.
Oh, and that's why he's all fucked up?
That's why he's fucked up, and that's why he's so far away from Twin Peaks. Because I think in the next episode, Ben gets a call, and he has to get somebody. He's like, how do you get to Idaho or something?
Yeah, I think there is a conversation about that. Yeah, I mean, I would have to think he found a portal.
Yeah. I mean, that would be quite a long distance for him to travel in a pretty short time. I think the events of this all take place within a week, I would say, of the return.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Roughly a week or so.
It's got to be. I mean, the timeline is kind of messed up, right?
Yeah,
and that's on purpose. We'll get to that in a little while here. I think we'll get to that maybe in a later episode. I mean, we've hinted at it, we've talked about it, but
I think it's obviously by design to orientate the viewers into what's going on around them.
Yes, absolutely. I believe that's 1,000% correct. And there's a lot of things that are going on, and I can't wait till we get to the thing. So then when it's done, we know this is when we learn he's the son.
Yep, he says goodbye, my son.
He says goodbye, my son.
I felt was unnecessary.
I felt it was unnecessary as well.
I think by just deducing by what Dr. Hayward said, and then Richard saying he had the picture of Audrey had the picture of Cooper by her bed. I think we all just knew, but I think this was one of those things. I don't know, maybe they felt they needed to clarify. I'm not sure.
Yeah, maybe maybe. But yeah, I also agree with you that I felt it was totally unnecessary. And it was just one of those things where, but again, I feel like that Lynch also, he, what's the word I'm looking for here? I think he learned from like the original thing that people just don't get it, I think. So yeah, I think that's why he threw that in there, was be like, this is too, for those of you that don't want to have that kind of implied. That's my take. I mean, but I get where you're pissed.
I'm not pissed. It's just kind of eye roll. Like, yeah, we all know that Mr. C is the rape baby father, or like, we got it. I don't know. It was just like one of those, like, okay, like, I guess some people probably didn't pick up on all the clues they hammered us over the side of the head with. But all right. And then he texts a smiley face with all caps all.
And a smiley face. All caps all, smiley face, all caps all.
Yep.
And we get that from the truck, or from the light, and then he gets in the truck and goes. Then we got the Hutch and Chantel in the van. Oh boy, there's so much going on here. What do you? Okay, I want to hear your take on this.
Well, this part is pretty brief. It's they're just sitting there staking out Dougie's house. They see the FBI, and we see the FBI pull up. So like, we all this through like almost happenstance, like we're gonna get like this, what eventually I think is my favorite comedic payoff in all of Twin Peaks. That all these people are converging upon the Jones residence.
Yes.
The FBI is like there. Dougie's not home, so they have Wilson pull around and take,
Yep. Wilson.
Scope out the house, stake out the house, in case Dougie returns.
Yep.
And then we cut to Cooper in the hospital.
Yes, I mean, Janie E and Sonny Jim, and like, that's one of the best lines is Mullins comes in. So I just heard what you were telling me.
Oh, and then Sonny's like, does electricity have anything to do with comas? Janie, no. Bush, no. Well, this time it did.
Yeah, in this case, it did. And Janie kind of shrugs, like, yeah.
And then the Mitchum brothers show up with finger sandwiches.
We've been through this before. These things happen. You don't want to cook.
Yeah, you don't want to eat the hospital food.
Mm-hmm. Hey, by the way, give me your house key. We're gonna go stock your house.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So brilliant.
Yeah. Then we get a cut to Cole, Albert, and Tammy and their electronic doodads.
Mm-hmm.
Very brief. Then we get back to the hotel, go back to the hospital. Bushnell gets a call from the office of the FBI is looking for Dougie. He's like, why? He's in a coma. What do they want with him?
Yes. What do they want with him? And yeah, it cuts back to, and then we get Gordon as well, right? Yep. Cuts to Gordon real quick, and the machines start to make that buzz noise, and Gordon's kind of freaked out by it, or he's kind of intrigued by it.
Yep. Then we get obviously there's a big payoff in this episode, but I'm going to be honest with myself. This is my favorite part of part 16. It's Hutch and Chantel in the van.
Oh my God! Yes. Okay, do this, Joe.
So we were talking about this. You watched this, like you said, a few times. You messaged me. We're talking about, like, this is very Tarantino-esque. Like, the violence and like the humor almost feels like Tarantino too. But it's like Chantel, they're waiting. Chantel's upset because she's down to her last bag and she goes to like Hutch like, "What are you on the rag?"
What if I am?
We see the Mitchum brothers limo pulling up with a van because they need to stock the house with food. And this is when Mr. Zawoski from a Zawoski Accounting comes pulling up into his neighborhood. And this is such a I laugh so hard at this scene. Like it's my favorite of this. I mean, Cooper returning is great. That's the great payoff. Mm-hmm. This is just so hilarious. Mr. Zawoski pulls up to Hutch and Chantel, and he tells them, "You're in my driveway." "We're not in your fucking driveway." Chantel's mouthing off, and he just says, "I move car."
I move car. Fuck off, douchebag.
He gets in a shitty little car and just smashes into their van trying to push it.
And he's destroying his car in the process. It's not going anywhere. He is wrecking his car.
Yep. And then this is when Chantel and Hutch's plans just go awry. It's gone awry once they've been spotted in the neighborhood. But Chantel just takes a shot at this guy.
Douchebag fucking pissing me off.
He runs to behind his car. He comes out with like I don't know what kind of gun this is. It's like a machine gun, but it looks like an Uzi.
It looks like an Uzi. It looks like a modified Uzi.
He clips Chantel.
Wow. Fucking winged me.
Oh, and then they try to escape. And he just
don't forget, Hutch comes out with a shotgun next.
Yeah, shotgun. Like down so they can make their drive away. Fucker unloads as they're driving by, taking them out. I haven't seen Tim Roth bleed out like this since Reservoir Dogs.
Dude, that's like an extended extended fucking. Mm-hmm.
And it's so fucking hilarious. And what makes this scene, Paul? What makes the scene even better, besides the fact that up until them eating it, and then their van slowly just rolling down the road as he's still shooting it, is Ray and Bradley watching this.
The whole thing with the eyes, watching the whole thing.
Their exchange just makes it perfect. This is the perfect cap. Bradley goes, "The fuck kind of neighborhood is this?" Ray, people are under a lot of stress, Bradley. He just writes it off like this accountant's just had a rough. It's a stressful time.
Yeah. And then they put the gun. Then the FBI comes out. They put the guns away. So, yeah, this scene is terrific. Jennifer Jason Leigh in this scene and her freaking out is what makes this amazing. This was the perfect death scene for the two of them. And yes, it was so Tarantino, and I'm sure that's why Tarantino. I can't remember if Hateful Eight came out before or after this.
Before.
Okay.
But it was just the humor too. It's got that Lynchian humor when it comes to violence. Like his violence can be like very terrifying, like we see for Frank Booth in Blue Velvet. And it could also be just like over the top hilarious, like Nicolas Cage beating the guy to death at the beginning of Wild at Heart. So it's, like it can be very terrifying and over the top, just like crazy and hilarious. And there's like the build up of them, and then the guy wanting to move, and they're being a dick to him, and he's had he's under a lot of stress, according to Ray. Just fuck.
And then finally the FBI decides to get involved. And I like, put your hands up. And he just puts his hands up as the car slowly goes. The van slowly rolls off. Oh my God. Yes. So yeah, Jennifer Jason Leigh's whole thing in this is what made this great. Like, fuck off!
Oh God. Yeah, that and just like then the Mitchum brothers. Oh God.
That is like, yes, there's the money shot in this one, but this was a brilliant and I think fantastic death scene for Hutch and Chantel, considering everything that they've kind of been into. Like, just this happenstantial death is what gets them.
Just Rodney and Bradley just staring at him.
just staring at this whole thing. What the fuck kind of neighborhood? And again, Jim Belushi is great in this episode.
Yeah.
He's just fantastic, and that whole scene just again, this is why it's on Showtime.
Yeah. For me it's just it's so funny. It builds and it's just the perfect payoff, and then like the dumpy FBI just waits until the violence is all done before announcing themselves.
Right. Yeah. They didn't try to prevent it from anything. They saw a shotgun go on. They see him hit the car, and then he's behind his accounting car. She rams the car, and he gets knocked over. And the FBI just watches this whole damn thing exchange.
Oh. Yeah. Again, I love this scene. Is just it's perfect for me. It's up my humor. It's just like I love it. And then this is followed. We're at the back of the hospital, and Bushnell hears that noise that we've heard in Ben's office.
Yes. Yep. We finally hear that electrical there,
and he follows the noise.
Mm-hmm.
And then, go on.
Oh, I was going to say, and then we learn what the noise is. What is the noise?
You tell us, man.
It's Mike.
Yep, it is Mike. He uses it to is like almost like a guide type thing to like distract people or like bring attention to something. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Mike appears, and Cooper wakes up. This exchange, I think, is like kind of how everybody felt up to this point. Mm-hmm. You are awake, Cooper? 100%. Finally.
Yes. Finally. This was a long time coming. And I remember this being the next episode. So I'm off like on my episodes, like, because again, it's been so long. So yeah, I would, this was the payoff here. I mean, just we get Cooper back, and it was a little jarring. I watched it 4 times today, and I will say that because he does have that. He's still, we've been seeing as Mr. C the whole time, so it was a little difficult for me to kind of click for that first second there, because he sounds and does the face and everything except for the hair, it's Mr. C. But then we get the whole cadence with him. It's a very different cadence when he really starts to talk. You're like, okay, this is Agent Cooper.
Yeah, and this is such an earned payoff too, because we basically for 15 episodes have just seen Cooper walk into walls, and basically, I mean, a lot of like physical humor, kind of like the old silent movies, like is just conveying through body motions, and it's just like he's back, and it's like it just feels so well deserved for the viewers for sticking through it. Yeah, I love it. And then Mike lets him know the other one didn't go back in. He's still out there, and he gives him the jade ring.
Yes, he gives him the jade ring, and then Cooper asks the seed, "Do you have the seed?" And he says yes, and he pulls out the wrong colored hair. I watched this thing 3 times. Wrong colored hair. And says, "I need you to make another." And, he says, "I understand." And then he asks Bushnell. Oh, yeah. He tells Janie, E, and Jimmy to go get the doctor and ask for sandwiches, doesn't he? He asks Bushnell for a sandwich.
Yeah, because he's starving. He's starving.
By the way, the other thing that did was a small bother was the feeding tube that he had, the tube he had. It's a lot longer. It's not a comfortable thing. So the fact that it was that short feeding tube was kind of silly to me. Like, that would not have been fun for him to pull out.
Oh.
And then he has to borrow the handgun. Like, "I need your snub nose, blah, blah, blah."
Yeah, he knows exactly where it is. Like, this is the Cooper we met in the pilot. And we have not seen since the end of the second season.
Yep.
Not even in the finale, because we didn't really see him as this kind of Cooper in the finale.
Nope. No, we didn't see him as this kind of Cooper. And he has Mitchell Mullins call the Mitchum brothers. Tells him he's going to bring his family to the casino, and he needs a plane to Spokane. And
the opening bars of the show start playing.
Oh my God! It's just nostalgia city. Nostalgia city.
It's so much. It's so earned, and Lynch and Frost knew what they were doing, and they knew. And this was like the adventure. This is the whole what the return was Cooper returning back to the real world of sorts. And we find out he knows where Bushnell's snub nose is. So the whole time he was in, this catatonic state, he was he was observing everything around him.
Yes, he was. It's like we talked about before. So now, we talked about this. He was in there the whole time. And he couldn't get out. And this is what we talked about. We alluded the last episode when you said he had to do these things. And, he needed to, do the electrical socket. This was the thing he was missing this whole time. But I think they also needed to, I don't know if cook is the right word for it, because I think that, Mike was helping him out, and Mike could have taken him to electricity right away. And, but he didn't. You know what I mean? This is one of those things. This is where I knew this was going to be a longer episode, because I kind of wanted to talk about this.
Are you there?
Oh, I'm here. I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay. That this is the thing I want to talk about where I knew it was going to be a little long, because there's this whole journey, and all it took was this electricity, and again, Mike has been kind of bringing him around all these roundabout ways of doing these things, which really are unnecessary. When you really break it down, you go, none of this had to happen. So why do you think it took this long for them to get to this point? That why had it be now for him to get the electricity? Why couldn't it have been earlier? Was there a reason that he needed to be in the body and get used to it? What do you think?
We've brought this to Slaughterhouse 5 a bunch of times with the return. And I think it's, in order for him to have returned, like the lodge and all that, time is not linear, as we have seen. So things have to play out in a certain way. That's why when Bob refuses to return, things fuck up.
Mm-hmm.
So there's rules of sorts with this, is what I believe. And so like in Slaughterhouse 5, I believe this is like a moment in time, and it's already happened. So it has to happen that way. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I do.
Like Billy Pilgrim is very aware of his traveling through time. but he does it exactly how it always is because that's just the way it was.
Yes.
There's no changing it. There's no changing it.
Yes.
So, like, through the happenstance with the Mitchum brothers, all this had to happen. You know, it all had to happen with Mike guiding him because eventually they have to lead to, all things are leading now to Twin Peaks, and this is how it has to happen.
So, I'm glad you said that because all, Twin Peaks, that has to happen. Here's how I feel and why it went the way it did. Is because of the shenanigans that occurred with the fake bubblegum tree and all that stuff that prevented everything from happening. If Cooper had done it right away early, the things that are being set up, and we'll get into that, I think, in episode 18, the things that are getting set up, or maybe even next episode, now that I think about it, are had to play out in order for them to essentially, for the right conclusion to happen. I think had they happened early and a lot of these setups weren't there, these, the Hutch and Chantel dying, Ike the Spike dying, all these things that had to be, all these obstacles had to be taken out of the way. I think if Cooper had just gone right after what needed to be done, I think he would have lost.
Yep. Or, and here's my theory.
Mm-hmm.
If none of these things happened, the show would have been a lot shorter.
Well, yes.
I mean, that's a controversial take, Paul. But
well, here's the thing. Correct me if I'm wrong. So I remember there's a lot of fuckery. Like, originally this was supposed to be like a 10-episode or 8-episode season.
Yep.
It was only supposed to be 8 or 10 episodes. And then, there was the problem with Showtime, where they didn't give the budget that David Lynch wanted. And then they did give up the budget. And next thing we knew, it was going to be 18 episodes, not 8 or 10.
Yep.
So yes, the show, I think you're right. I mean, yes, we understand that. But I wonder, in a way, what the 8 or 10 episodes would have been. Versus,
I think the 8 or 10 episodes was just the based on the outline. I don't think it was like really set at that many. I think there was still in negotiations when that came out. I think Lynch and Frost knew it was going to be 18 episodes, and they might have sold it on like 8 or 9 2-hour-long episodes.
Ah, maybe. I see that. Okay.
So I think it was like always baked in that this was going to be longer than the traditional, but I mean, who knows? I just remember, I think I read somewhere where it was just like their intentions was always going to be, it was going to be this long. It just, what happened was with the budget concerns and all that happened while the head of Showtime was out vacation or something.
Yes, and he came back and he was pissed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they gave Lynch, what he needed, and it wasn't, there's a lot of it's a huge project and it's going to be expensive, but I don't think it was, in the long term, I don't think it was like out of this world. It's not Waterworld budget we're talking about.
No, it wasn't Waterworld budget. And again, when you look at the special effects and things of that nature, we'll get to because you see it later in this episode, and you've seen it all throughout. They're not the greatest, most over the top, big budget special effects. I think a lot of the budget was for the scenes, for the locations, and for the gratuitous amount of cameos that they had in it.
I think the cameos were either done at scale. I don't think people were asking for a lot of money to appear in a show that everybody wanted coming back. So
true.
I'm pretty sure they all took a pay cut just to be in it.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I mean, yeah, but I think cast and set locations is really where the budget went.
Yeah, I'd imagine that's, and editing and music and all that, and just it's a huge project, so it was going to be a lot of money, but but Anyway, going back, Cooper gives Bushnell a note in case somebody named Gordon Cole calls him.
Mm-hmm.
He tells him how much of a fine man he is, and the guy's like, well, hey, what about the FBI? And we get the classic, I am the FBI.
I am the FBI. Yes. Yes. Which is awesome.
Presumptuous, you know. There's other FBI agents out there, Cooper. You're not the only one. Come on.
I am the FBI, which just leaves, Bushnell just kind of like, oh. And
that's the kind of attitude that J. Edgar Hoover had, man.
It reminds me
I am the FBI.
No. It reminds me of Clue. It reminds me of Clue, Mr. Green. I am the FBI. And
so he takes off with Janie and Sonny Jim. He's driving as the FBI's pulling in. And, so Sonny Jim has two things that in this whole part I love. It's like, one, Dad can drive really good. And he's like, Dad sure is talking a lot.
Okay, this is now we're gonna go on a side note here, because this is also I wanted to dig into, because going back to before when it was Dougie which gets two rides from Jane, he was talking with Jade. He had a car, so just this week is like they forgot about everything that was going on with Dougie Jones before. I mean, obviously he was able to get himself to work. Obviously he was able to do his job, far less erratic than what he was as when Cooper took over his, when they got switched around. So yeah, we talked about this spans a week. What the fuck, Sonny Jim? What is wrong with Sonny Jim?
Well, as of late, his dad has been pretty catatonic, and he shocked himself by shoving a fork into an electric socket.
I get this, but
I'd be pretty shocked if somebody recovering from that could drive pretty well too.
Well, yes, but won't you think he'd be like, "Hey, Dad's somewhat back to normal. Not Dad can drive and really good too. Dad could always drive. He just couldn't."
Well, maybe he was a bad driver. Maybe Dougie was a terrible driver.
Yeah, he had that car. What was it, Dougie Love? That thing didn't have a dent or a scratch on it. Just saying.
Not now. It could have had it the week before.
No, I just think that's one of those things where I was like, because again, I watched this episode over and over and over, so that's one of those nitpicky things. But I was just like, that's not sitting with me.
Who knows? He might be getting in accidents every week. Who knows?
He's always got a new Dougie Love. Yeah, but
always smashing into telephone poles. Who knows?
Yeah. Yes.
We don't know what Dougie's life was like.
No, that's another show they got to do. So then we get to Diane.
Yes.
And she's sitting at the bar, she's smoking, and she gets the text. And I think that was the code.
Yep.
Yeah, that was
also, let's point out, once she reads the text, the Twin Peaks theme cuts immediately.
Yep.
It's still playing as she's at the bar smoking. Mm-hmm. And then she has a terrified look on her face.
Yep. And we get, she remembers the coordinates.
Yep.
And then we see her handbag, she's got the gun, and then that song, American Woman remix by Muddy Magnolia. Oh my God. Okay. So I love this remix. Have you heard the original version of Their American Woman?
No, I haven't.
It's totally different. Totally different. In this mix, it's a female that sings the original, and it's a very apparent female. So in this mix, and it's called the David Lynch mix. So it had to be something where, they worked on it somewhat together. And he's got her voice totally distorted. And it's not the American Woman that we all know and love. It's a completely different American Woman song. But my God, I was driving around today for a little bit, and I had this song blaring in my car because I loved it.
I think the last time we heard this was in part 8 too. It was C is driving Ray.
Yes. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it just fits what's going on because she's walking down the hallway. You know something's going to happen. You know, because we saw the gun. We just know bad juju's about to go down.
And Cole seems to be aware of something too, because all of a sudden he senses something and he asks her to come in, and she hasn't even knocked yet.
I took that as the hearing aids.
I think he sensed something.
Okay. And very well could be, because he seemed to be the only one that wasn't fazed by everything that went on.
Yep, I think he knew what was going to go, in a sense.
Mm-hmm. So she comes in, and we learned some really interesting things here, actually, from this conversation. So she talks about how it was about 3 or 4 years after Cooper disappeared. She was still working for the Bureau when Mr. C showed up, and no knock, no doorbell. That's where the title of the episode comes in. And she was so happy to see him, and he was asking her all about the FBI's activities, and she was like, I knew I should have thought something was up, and I just thought he was really interested in what was going on with the FBI. I just took that as excitement. And then he leaned in to kiss her like he did once before. So I thought that was very interesting. There was something there between Cooper and Diane.
Yep, I agree too. And we kind of see a little bit more of that in the last episode of this.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So there was a thing there. So, not sure if it was, my guess is, just based on the Cooper character, work duties wouldn't allow it, so he wouldn't allow it to happen. We both.
Well, it's not it's not the first time he broke protocol with the FBI with his love interests.
You mean well, that's true.
Linda Merle's wife.
Linda Merle's wife, yeah. And that, for one thing of season 2, I will say they did, explain that fucked him up a lot.
Yeah.
And that would probably explain why he and Diane couldn't have anything. Because I do like the idea of him and Diane being together, actually. But yeah, so she says she kissed him before, but then this was different, and she became full of fear. And then he smiled, and she mentions that his face, and then she stops herself. And I think she saw Bob.
I think so too.
Yep,
we've seen this before.
Mm-hmm.
Twin Peaks, so we can glean off our back experiences of the show to kind of put context into what Diane's saying here.
Yes, I think I think you and I are yes. I'm glad we're on the same page. I think she saw him, and then she breaks down that he raped her, and then he took her to an old gas station. Which,
again, based off our back experiences, this is the convenience store.
This is the Flying Dutchman.
Yep.
And or the Dutchman, and then she starts saying, "I'm in the sheriff's station. I'm in the sheriff's station. I'm not me," and pulls a gun. And God, do I bring this up? Because I don't know who's all listening, but oh boy. I maybe because I'm nitpicking again, I watched this so many times, but my God, the actress that plays Tammy, not very believable.
No. She's a singer in real life, to be fair.
Yes, and I know she's like a Lynch protege, or Lynch has taken a shine to her and her music. But I am aware that she was. I think she's also a model too, isn't she?
Maybe. I don't know. I just know her from her music. So, but yeah. And here's the interesting thing for me too, because it seems like these memories flooding back to Diane, like she's finally just kind of remembering that night she was raped. It reminded me a lot of Leland's last moments when he finally remembers the shit.
Yes, the
record. That felt like there was very shades of that here.
I'm glad
not exactly because she's a tulpa, but I think even as a tulpa, she had some of this trauma blocked out.
Well, and it's interesting because it kind of goes to what is a tulpa? What is a tulpa? What do they do? And obviously they're flawed once their memories come back in. I'm assuming that he thought that Diane would be able to kill them. But you gotta know too that this flooding of information, like, just seems like, a bad code word there. Mr. C, I would have done it a little bit more selectively on what information comes back. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it just, her crying and recalling these memories, and then like she's kind of like glitching.
Yep.
It reminded me a lot of that last when Leland died, like just like kind of that, like the trauma's brought back, and we'll probably talk about this a little bit more in the next episode too, because I think when we'll discuss more of that, I think, next episode of what really is going on with Diane.
Yes, I think we will too. But all we know is that she was saying she's at the sheriff's station. I'm not me. And then they shoot her, and she flies off.
Yeah, in a comical fashion.
In a very comical fashion. She flies off, and Gordon's wondering what they mean by sheriff's station, and Preston is like, Tulpa. So
a real Tulpa.
A real Tulpa. And Albert's just like,
Albert's seen this. It's not his first rodeo.
No, not his first rodeo at all. So then we get...
You go to the Black Lodge. I love this scene. Like this episode has so many great scenes. Cooper returning, my favorite of the accountant shooting Judge and Chantel. But now we have Diane's Tulpa with Mike. And he says, someone manufactured you. I know. Fuck you.
Right. I know. Fuck you. And then we get to what I was talking about, the not so special effects.
But they work for Lynch stuff. Like, if this was like a different director, I'd be like, ugh. But with him, it's like, I get, it's like, that's just like, he probably could do something better, but it fits his wheelhouse here. Like fucking Microsoft Paint effects.
Yeah. It's it is, but, and I agree. I was thinking about that. It does work for Lynch here, and I can't think of another director doing this any better. I thought about that too. I'm like, you know what? This is really interesting. Like the way that they're breaking up and things, that it doesn't look real, but at the same time, I think to myself, is it supposed to?
Yeah.
Because, we're dealing with some otherworldly stuff. It can look any way it wants to. And so I kind of take into that.
Yep. And we see what we now know is a seed come out of her head. This is the little gold balls are called seeds for tulpas.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing it's just the consciousness
that is stolen. The stolen
soul or their entity or whatever.
Yep.
Whatever you want to call it. And then the rest of Diane zaps. Much like Richard at the beginning of the episode.
Yep, she zaps.
Mike covers his eyes.
And there is some there's some claymation. If you notice, again, I watched it too many times, but there's some claymation with like where when her clothes goes away. It's a claymation style thing. I thought that was really interesting. And then he covers his eyes. By the way, I also want to bring up, why does Mike need to dye his beard and hair? He didn't in the original.
Well, Al Strobal was already old in the original. We're lucky we had him around for this. Right? If the man wants to fucking dye his beard, let him.
I just thought it was
Jesus.
I just thought it was, again, I'm nitpicking some things here, but these are things that went through my mind in this episode. I'm like, why is Mike dyeing himself? He's in the lodge. He doesn't need to dye his hair.
Oh, Paul's fucking hair shaming. Al Strobal now. Add that to our resume, huh? I'm sorry, listeners. Paul's going way too far.
Hey! This isn't as far as we went when we casted Peter Dinklage.
Leave that to your other show. Leave your dirty laundry over on Cast That Movie.
Right. So then we get there. We're back at the casino, and the Mitchums are like, "This is what is it? What does Jim Belushi say? Something like, "Geez, he's going with a lot of assurance."
Yeah, he's talking with a lot of assurance. It's like, what is that? Was that from the coma? Maybe the side effects.
Side effects. And this is a very touching scene where, Cooper tells, he loves Janie E. He loves Sonny Jim. He has to leave. But when, one day Dougie, I will come back. And that's when it clicks for Janie E. This isn't Dougie.
Well, yeah. Also, he has different hair. I don't see you mocking Kyle MacLachlan's black hair dye job. Sorry, Al Strobal.
First of all, he always had that hair color, so I can believe that the character would still have that hair color. Although really he wouldn't. But let's be real. I can do that. But why a lodge entity needs to dye its hair? I'm sorry, Al Strobal. I get it, but. And it made him look young. It did. It looked good. It was a good hair dye. It was
Hey! I'm just saying, like in real life, Kyle MacLachlan's gray as hell, man.
Yes.
You're kicking Al Strobal while he's down, but like giving Kyle MacLachlan all his leeway with his jet black hair. Looks like he's about to run like Rudy Giuliani.
God damn it!
Again, everybody, I'm sorry. Paul went too far here.
I crossed the line. I shouldn't have crossed the line. And yeah, she realizes this dyed hair man is not Dougie, and but she begs him to stay. Yep. And I thought that was really interesting. Like she loves this version.
Yeah.
Of Dougie. She loves Coop.
And it's heartbreaking because Sonny Jim doesn't want. He keeps yelling, "You're my dad."
Mm-hmm.
And that's got to be, that's rough. That's like, I was watching that. I was just like, that's got to be rough for a kid that age.
Yeah.
And like, this person who's just, is like, looks exactly like your dad. And like, you have to realize, it's almost like too much for a kid that young to understand. Like, we're still trying to figure out what the hell's going on. I couldn't imagine being in Sonny Jim's shoes.
Yeah, I think that has a lot to do with it. In terms, I think even Sonny Jim kind of knew as well, and in a different way. Yeah, he's young and everything, but I think he kind of knew there was something aloof here, and it was heartbreaking because Cooper is. You could tell he's struggling a little bit. He's like, "I am your dad. I am your dad." Like he is doing the right thing.
Yep, Cooper's a good guy. Yep.
Yeah, Cooper's a great guy. And so then, he goes and he's like, I'll come back, which is why he wanted the seed and why he needed another doppelganger.
He's going to give them a good one this time.
Mm-hmm. A good one this time.
And now we're in the limo with the Mitchum brothers. Cooper's drinking his coffee. And I love, is it Rodney who's breaking it down? Like, let me get this straight. You don't sell insurance. You're an FBI agent who's been missing for 25 years, and you need to go to Twin Peaks, Washington. Obviously they have they're like, they don't feel welcome in that part of, rural areas in general.
Mm-hmm.
But with like going to a sheriff's station, they're not really comfortable. And like Cooper's like, he's like, what I've observed from you guys are really good guys. Yep. From I've seen, you have hearts of gold, which is it candy? He's like, they do. They
really do.
With tears in her eyes.
You missed my favorite part though. Well, this is all going on. Jim Belushi wants his Bloody Mary, and it is the most overdressed Bloody Mary that they made in the limo. It is just excess. Oh my God. He's trying to drink this thing in a limo, Bloody Mary in the limo. This just ridiculous. I mean, it's got pickles, olives, celery.
It's basically a meal in a cup.
It is a meal in a cup. It's just brilliant. And now it cuts to the Roadhouse.
Yep.
Much earlier than it normally does.
Yeah, and this is probably my least favorite. Well, no, not this part, but as we've discussed, the Audrey stuff just doesn't work for me.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So,
and I want
the Roadhouse performance. We welcome Edward Louis Severson.
Yes, and this here is my favorite Roadhouse performance.
Yeah, I love the song. Eddie Vedder plays "Out of Sand." It's a really good song. It's one of my favorites on the soundtrack. And he wrote it for the show, I believe.
No, he did not. He did not. There's actually footage of him playing this well before the show, live. And I just think it happened to work for what it was. That's my understanding. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I thought he wrote it for the show. I mean, the show was in production for how long? I mean, he could have performed. I don't know. But it's good. He goes by his real name, introduced by his real name. Again, whoever's booking the Roadhouse is way overqualified.
Yeah.
I mean, he's booking acts like First Ave in Minneapolis couldn't get.
Okay, no, I want to bring up. So yes, he wrote this song a year before. So this song was actually done by itself, and it was Laura Dern who said this would fit into the show, and introduced David Lynch to this particular song, and David Lynch said, "I want it."
Ooh.
Yeah. Yep. Sorry. So go on.
Oh, sounds good. Do you have any other punch downs on Al Strobal you want to throw in there too?
No, you know. God damn it.
Are you done with old Al? Or?
So, the reason why this song and this particular performance, first of all, this is the best performance of this song. I have seen other live performances of it, and in those live performances, every single one, unfortunately, Eddie Vedder has some form of mistake in it. Which happens. It's live. I mean, I went and saw Sigur Rós, and they had to restart a song twice because they messed up. So, I mean, and they're usually right on, spot on. So it's nothing. I'm not punching down on fucking Eddie Vedder here.
Oh, jeez. No, even Eddie Vedder can't perform a song right for you.
God damn you.
Oh, here we go. Paul's hot takes.
But this is the definitive version of this song. And the song is, first of all, brilliant. It basically is the entire show in a nutshell. Talking about how you won't be what you are. It's basically talking about, I feel like, and I could see why people thought it was made for the show, because it's just so poignant and on point. But also, I think, in our age, I mean, I'm going to date us here. We're old, and it very much is real to. I mean, this song. If you're a younger listener, good for you. First of all, thank you. If you're a younger listener listening to this, this song will eventually make sense to you, and you'll actually feel it. But yeah, I just like, this was the one. Like, I think this was the perfect episode for it. I think it was this, and it gets fucked up because Charlie's got to order fucking martinis.
Well, I mean, this performance, like, what we're seeing isn't live. It's the same that we hear on the soundtrack. So,
yep.
So yeah, if you want to hear it uninterrupted, you can just listen to the album or CD or however you consume your music these days. And to our older audience, particularly Al Strobal, I want to apologize for Paul mocking your dye job. He was out of line.
Jesus Christ. I hope you are listening, Al Strobal. Send me a message. I'll apologize on air. So Charlie and Audrey are there, and this is where my theory is Audrey never left the house. Yes.
She had a break before they left. I think all that we saw before, but with her and Charlie talking, was actual what's really going on, and it plays because it lines up with like the people at the Roadhouse talking about Billy. This is all her. She had a break, I think, a mental break, and we'll. I don't know how much we're going to cover when we talk Final Dossier, so I'm going to bring some of that in here. In the Final Dossier, it's revealed that she becomes quite agoraphobic after Richard's born, and she's pretty much in seclusion, and she spends time in rehab or mental facilities.
Mm-hmm.
So this kind of lines up with what we're seeing here. I think she had her agoraphobia, I think, triggered a break, a psychotic break, maybe. And so this is her hallucination.
That's what I feel as well, is that, that it didn't happen.
Yep.
And
it's pretty hits you over the head.
Yeah.
At the end when she's in the hospital lights, like I think she had a break and she had to be committed for a bit. I think the anxiety of going out and fighting with Charlie and worrying about Billy, I think and who knows, maybe she found out about Richard.
Well, and here's the thing. In a Q&A panel with Mark Frost, with David Lynch, he was asked about this, and he laughed, and of course he did, and said, you got to decide for yourselves what happened to her. Mark Frost has avoided giving a definitive answer, but as you talked about, the Final Dossier says she's in a private care facility.
She has been in them.
Yep, and she lives
with Charlie, her husband. I mean, so he's real.
Here's my hot take. I don't know if he is. I think he is. We know he is from the Final Dossier, but I don't know if
you call Mark Frost a liar now. Jesus,
fuck you. Listen to my thing here. No, I understand Charlie's real, but I think this is what goes on in her head in the asylum. I think that I think she was married to him. Again, he has all the stuff. She signed everything over to her. She signed everything over to him. And I think that this is what plays in her head over and over.
Even the conversations?
I think the conversations.
This is where I'm differing, because they talk about things that in the Roadhouse, in other episodes, they're talking about things that Audrey and Charlie are talking about too.
They are.
So that wouldn't make any sense.
But the timeline's also messed up.
I would say everything we saw with them happened, and then she broke down with the Billy disappearance and all that, I think. And Richard. But who knows who's right? It's just
no. I'm going to concede to you because you do make up some good points.
It's just weird with them, like people talking about like Tina and Billy, and like the girls, like her, Billy broke into the house, and her mom Tina was the last person to see him. I don't, and that's like the shit we don't even care about.
No, it is the shit we don't even care about. And I just want to say that. So this particular scene bothered me.
I didn't like it either. This was like the worst element of fan service. If Cooper returning was the best, this was the worst.
Yes, because we get then we get Audrey's dance, and I love Sherilyn Flynn. I know you do too. But I'm gonna punch a little bit here some more. This is a punchy episode apparently.
Where are we going now? We're going to lose all our listeners.
Oh, fuck you. We're not going to lose all of our listeners. No, where the punch comes in on this is I've seen... So, in terms of this is the worst fan service. This is not what people wanted to see with Audrey. Like, this was, again, we know from what we know now that it wasn't supposed to be this long. She wasn't supposed to be in this episode. She was upset that she didn't get her thing, and this was David Lynch placating. And it's to all of our detriment, and it's to her detriment. Because we're left with this, and I'm sorry, I've seen this dancing before. we all see this dancer before. It's that fucked up lady that did too much fucking E before the concert and is dancing weird to any music that's going on. Like she's just doing interpretive dance off the side of the fucking stage. You know exactly what I'm talking about, Joe. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah. It's, for me, it was just like recreating that dance that she does in the diner in the first season. It's like, yeah, you know, that's an iconic scene and you're recreating it, it fell flat.
Well, and it went on too long. Like all it was, remember that iconic dance was really just her back and forth. But now she's doing the In Vogue thing with the face,
yeah,
and doing this interpretive dance, and it's like no.
Yeah, thank God that fight breaks out.
Right, that's my wife. And then she wants to go home, and she's then we see that. Then we get something really interesting at the end where the song's playing, but did you catch it's in reverse?
Yeah, it's played backward.
It's played backwards. So, yes, we can both agree that I'm going to concede absolutely and say, yeah, okay, so everything leading up to that point was it, and I think she did have a break trying to leave. And I think, what we know now was that Charlie was actually being very caring and not wanting to have her leave the house.
Yeah. I mean, that would make sense. Again, you could be right, too. It could be all, like, how she's viewing the world. We know at times from Final Dossier she's been lucid.
Mm-hmm.
She starts, like, I think, a hair salon.
Yep. So,
like, she has moments, but she's so private, nobody really knows what her mental state is, even Tammy, who's writing the Final Dossier. So I think both of our theories are just as credible. It is, and unfortunately, it's such a waste of this character. It feels like so forced and thrown away at the same time.
Yes, it's very much so, and it is. It's forced, it's throwaway, and it didn't. Again, this is not what people wanted from Audrey. And we heard that. I mean, that was very loud and clear on the forums and things like this. Like, what the fuck are we getting? Yeah. So I thought, this was not the way to do it. Again, what happened earlier with Cooper was the perfect way to do it. Mm-hmm. This was not how I wanted. It was cringy.
She started, like, Audrey's dance, she started dancing. I was just like, oh, no.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. I think cringy is the perfect word. Like, it made me feel there, and made me feel like some of the things we do in the Office podcast.
Yeah.
Like, I just kind of cringe. I'm like, I don't even want to look at the screen right now because this is just, yeah, this is pure cringe. Overall, though, the episode's really, really good, and there's so many things. Again, we could talk about the timeline, things like that, and other things, but I think we got to save that for the next episode, and then we can kind of go about that onion, and then we can finally, in episode 18, really break through all of this.
Yeah, part 18 is when part 18, I think, is when we're going to be talking about the timelines and all that a lot. Next episode is another. I love it because it's a fan servicey episode. We only for an 18 episode thing, getting basically 2 episodes where we got like classic Cooper. Yeah, by anybody else, it would have been very frustrating. But we also, and I'm excited for next episode because I get to bring up Back to the Future.
Yeah.
When Cooper Marty McFlies.
Yes, when Cooper Marty McFlies, we'll talk about that. Yeah, I just, this episode overall is just a big plus. I know I punched a lot during it.
Sorry, Al Strobal.
Oh, sorry. Okay. For those of you that listen, we are critics. I mean, I will critique even things I love. So I will point out things even in one of the greatest episodes and one of the greatest moments, little nitpicky things around it that just kind of kept it from being an 11 out of 10. Just, that's just my nature. Like I kind of, it's always, that's just me. So don't take it to heart. Don't leave the podcast. Said a few things nitpick me. Overall, this is a brilliant episode, and there's a lot of things to really digest, as we talked about, and really dig into. What's up with the coordinates? What did end up killing? Let's talk about that a little bit, because I want to talk about that. What did kill Richard? What do you think that was?
I think it was a trap, a booby trap meant for Mr. C, to kill Mr. C.
I think so too, but I mean, we kind of know what the coordinates are, but at the same time, like, don't you think that he would have gotten suspicious just going out there and not even sending Richard up there? Like, he would have been like, "Huh, that's weird. That's not what I'm looking for."
Found somebody. I think you would have found somebody that did what Richard did. No matter what, at the end, you would have found a hitchhiker or somebody. Mr. C is not going to put himself in that situation. He's too pragmatic for that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was a trap set up by either the White Lodge, the Black Lodge, or Major Briggs. Or Philip Jeffries.
See, I wonder if it's a Jeffries thing, because he would have gotten one of the cords from Jeffrey, right? And he was able to tell that he wasn't him. Remember, he tricked him?
Yep. Yeah, I think it might have been Jeffries because that the two of the coordinates, was Ray.
Yep. It was, so the coordinates were Ray, Philip Jeffries. Where was the third one?
The third one is what Diane texts him, which ends up being Twin Peaks.
Well, but she texted him later. He didn't get.
So where is the third one?
Yeah.
No, Jeffries, I think, gives him coordinates. Remember in the teapot?
Well, yeah, Jeffrey gave him one, and
then Ray gave him coordinates.
Yeah, but
those are two that probably matched.
Yep. So where's the third?
Diane.
Because she didn't give him all the coordinates. She gave him partial coordinates.
Gave him the coordinates, when she texted him. So, that's where Jeffries in person, Ray Monroe, and then Diane.
Yep. Yeah, and it makes sense that Ray would have been the one, because Ray got his coordinates from Philip Jeffries, who gave him the coordinates anyways, yes. So I think that was the trap. Okay.
So, it was a Jeffries trap.
It was a Jeffries trap. So that makes sense. Yep. Okay. So that's solved. Yeah. I love this. I love this thing. And we're getting to the point where we can really dig into things. And I do expect episode 18 and 19, when we do the book, to be really long episodes, because I really want to dig into a lot of things, kind of pinpointing, points along the show that we really haven't been able to get into, because I don't want to jump too far ahead, because we need things to talk about in those episodes. All right. Well, so you are on hiatus from the Showdown for a little while. Is that correct?
Yep, we're on hiatus. It's been a crazy month, so we'll be coming back in December. We'll be doing John Wick month, which is I'm excited. Those movies are just stupid fun, so nice little break. And then our Office podcast is also on hiatus.
Yes, we are on hiatus and for holiday break until January for the Office one.
Yep.
And we just have this, and Cast That Movie is also on hiatus till January. I'll just say it. I love Scott. He needed some time off with the holidays. A lot of things going on. He's got a family, and that all going on, in the holidays for him are really, he's got a lot going on this holiday with a lot of different family. So there is those things going on.
Yep. So besides Twin Peaks, we're all pretty much taking a well-deserved break, I think.
Should we announce what we discussed the other day?
Yes. So it's come out that David Lynch is doing a new series for Netflix, and Paul and I have decided whenever that comes out, we will be reviewing it under a podcast above a convenience store banner.
Yep.
Since it falls into the world of David Lynch and all that, and so that'll be kind of like a little spin-off. Well, whatever it's called will be, instead of talking Twin Peaks, it'll be talking whatever that's called.
Yes, whatever that's called. I have a theory that it's Ronnie Rocket. I'm just gonna say what my theory is. I'm gonna put it out there. If I'm right or wrong, I'm not fucking Dave Rubin, where I'm gonna try and backtrack on why I was right. I'm gonna say it's Ronnie. I think it's gonna finally be a Ronnie Rocket series.
Yeah, he's been wanting to do that for a while. I'm looking this up because there is some. So it's called Wisteria.
Yes, Wisteria.
Wisteria, and some people have. So there is, interesting enough, there is a Wisteria, and it's in Odessa, Texas. It's a street in Odessa, Texas.
Are you serious?
Which is a
fuck!
it's a clue for our next episode.
Oh shit! Oh shit! Are you for real?
Or the last episode of this podcast, or the last episode of The Return.
Oh god!
But Mark Frost has confirmed he is not. He's not involved. So that, and considering Showtime, I believe owns.
Yeah.
Twin Peaks, maybe the IP. I don't know. They might be able to. Maybe Lynch is spinning off without Frost. He did it with Fire Walk with Me, but
Yep.
I have a feeling it's going to be Ronnie Rocket too.
Yeah, but
that would be my guess. But
that's real interesting that it's
Odessa. Some sleuths on Welcome to Twin Peaks pointed that out. I think it was Welcome to Twin Peaks Twitter handle I follow.
Okay,
brought that up. So
that is really interesting. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if they own it. I think they own season 3 because seasons 1 and 2, the IP is on Hulu and Netflix.
Yeah, but that's also Showtime's parent company is also the parent company that owned CBS or ABC or whatever this aired on. The original aired on, so it worked.
Well, it originally aired on ABC.
Yep, parent company of Showtime also owns ABC.
What the fuck? They own everything. All right.
Yeah, but I hope it's something different. As much as I love Twin Peaks, I think it's time for Lynch to maybe stretch things out and do something a little different. Plus, Ronnie Rocket's something he's wanting to make since after Eraserhead, and it'd be really great if he was able to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to see Ronnie Rocket finally get done for him. So yeah, that's what we got going on. So what we got, episode 17, episode 18, the final dossier, and that the next book that we talked about that I sent you. So That's what we got. That's so Joe, why don't you take us out?
The past dictates the future.